Check out my new blue tongue. He was $7.95, but his enclosure ended up costing about $500. $5 for this tub of crickets, and half of them look like they're dead. How good's that? Today I'm going to be giving you guys a bunch of money-saving tips while keeping your reptiles. Now, reptiles aren't the cheapest thing to keep, but if you think outside the box a little bit, you can cut down costs so much. This will help you save a ton of money, which you will then use in upgrading the reptiles on things that they actually do need. So let's start with a big one, enclosures. Enclosures are going to be one of the largest expenditures, whether you're doing it cheap or not. But you can save yourself a bunch of money by simply going second hand or building yourself. Too many people think you need to buy a brand new enclosure when you get an animal. The reality is there is a bunch of amazing second hand enclosures out there for sale for like a fraction of the price of a brand new one that'll do the exact same thing. For example, I got this one, this one, this one, and this one, which are all my proper Reptile branded enclosures. I got them all online secondhand. And this one behind me was only $80, so you can get some really good deals online. And places you find these are typically Facebook Marketplace, Gumtree, eBay, things like that. And just look around, type in some searches with some keywords, reptile, reptile enclosure, glass, you know, whatever, and you'll be sure to find something. Just keep an eye on it. The only concern with getting second-hand enclosures is diseases and things like that. So make sure you give them a really thorough clean when you get them, and make sure there's no faults with the enclosure, it all works properly, and you're on a winner. Ooh, a rainbow. One of the cheapest ways to keep a reptile is to have a species that can live outdoors year-round. That way you don't need to pay for any lighting or heating, which is probably one of the most expensive parts of keeping reptiles. And they're going to do so well outside, so if you can get an animal and you can live outside in your area, it's going to be an absolute win. Now, one of the best ways to save money is to actually breed your own feeders. So here is my roach bin. There's a bunch of wood roaches in here, which I keep and breed for my reptiles. Now this is going to cut down on so much cost. You're not spending, you know, $5 a week on a little tub of crickets that's going to be half dead. You've got a constant supply, and it's really just one initial cost and they'll breed from there. Now, this one's really important. Hardware stores are your friend. Heating, lighting, substrate, decorations, and so much more can all be found at your local hardware store. UVB is something you should never cheap out on. It's really important to get a good quality UVB and replace it in accordance with the manufacturer's guidelines. But everything else is pretty much fair game. Don't waste your money on Reptile branded heat lights. Often these things don't last long and they're not that good quality. Instead, you can go to the hardware store and pick up your classic Philips floodlights. So these work great. They last quite a long time and they're a fraction of the price. And even if you want to grow live plants in a setup, there's LED lights that you can get for pretty cheap at hardware stores too that'll do the trick. And if you're keen on a bit of DIY, you can even make some cool decorations for your enclosures. So this here was a special sort of hose that came in about a 15-meter roll for $10, which I've used to make into a reptile vine, fully bendable and everything. And then if you had a proper reptile vine from a store, that'd be, you know, $20 for a single small vine. So much money saved, and it's typically a better product. But hardware stores are especially great for stuff like substrate. So you can pick up substrate there really cheap, really effective. You just got to sort of discern a little bit, make sure there's nothing toxic in there for your reptiles. But say you buy sand from the reptile store, it's going to be so much cheaper to just get play sand from Bunnings or something like that. You guys know I love my Yuki mulch, and a big bag of Yuki mulch is only about $8, so a really good cost save, and it's awesome for the animals. Now, another thing I see quite often, which really weirds me out, is people are buying branches and rocks and other natural decor items. So with these, it's pretty sort of self-explanatory. You can just go out and harvest them yourself. Now, disclaimer, make sure you do it from an area that you're allowed to, like not a national park or something like that. And also keep in mind that it can bring in, you know, other unwanted critters along with it. So there's lots of videos out there online on how to sterilize natural wood and stuff like that. Or another option is, again, going online, looking on Facebook Marketplace, things like that. I often see free bush rock for sale, and yeah, so it's pretty easy to get a hold of these natural items if you just have a look around. Or maybe your neighbour's getting one of their big old trees cut down because it's a bit dangerous. Just go over there and ask them, hey, can I grab some branches for my reptiles? I'm sure they wouldn't mind. Now, depending on how natural you want your setup to look, another way to save some money is actually when it comes to things like food and water bowls. So there we have the sort of typical reptile one you'd see. That's going to cost a little bit of money, whereas you can have a free reptile bowl by using old plastic lids, containers, things like that. So it's going to be a massive cost save if you're really trying to keep it down. And if you had the space, another simple thing would just be to grow your own reptile food. If you have reptiles that eat plant matter, you know, you can grow all sorts of different lettuce, other greens and fruits and stuff. So there's another option. Now, if you're a bit of a builder, you can also make your own reptile enclosure. That can cut a lot of costs down as well. It's just going to be a lot of time invested. So we've made quite a few of our own reptile enclosures ourselves, and it's really good because you can really choose how you want the enclosure to be, what size, how it looks and everything. So it's an option if you're a bit of a builder. So if you have any cost-saving tips for your reptiles, leave them in the comments below. Let us all know so we can all benefit. So there's a few of the methods I use to save money with my reptiles. Hope you guys have learned something. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more Australian reptiles and other topics like this, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a go at these little ripper blueies, mate. People say I talk really bogan on my videos, but hey, you just have to get used to it. I'm Australian.